Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here, and welcome to Jambareeqi Sandwich, the film and animation themed variety show podcast. Joining me is my co-host, Viva Becker.
Hello.
So Viva, what have you been watching recently?
I wanted to talk about Scott Pilgrim. I've already talked on the show about my love for Edgar Wright's various products, various works, and Scott Pilgrim was kind of the first one that I saw that introduced me to his stuff when I was like a child. A very energetic movie, a very particular sense of humor, but very enjoyable.
Now, I have seen the Scott Pilgrim movie before, but it's been a long time since I last saw it, so I don't feel right adding in my own opinions for this one, so you just go ahead.
It's very accessible. Like most people are gonna get it. It's a humor that's really based on being goofy and out there, but it is also supported with delivery, and it's supportive of the story, so it actually works. A lot of places or a lot of projects try to do absurdist humor, and a lot of them don't really pull it off, but Scott Pilgrim is one of the movies that actually does it in an enjoyable way. I think the nerdy references are okay. I mean, I don't know how much it is in the graphic novels. In the movie, like I said, they keep it very accessible. Like you don't really have to be a nerd, you just have to be a person who's seen pop culture things before to get it. They're not digging deep with the references. It's like, have you played a video game before? Do you know what coins popping out of enemies are? That's the level of reference.
And what do you think of the whole central romance and the arc that Scott goes through?
That's definitely the weakest part.
For those of you who don't know, Edgar Wright has also announced that he wants to do an anime adaptation of Scott Pilgrim. Viva, how do you think this animated version could improve on the film's weaknesses?
First of all, they could make the main love interest have a little bit more character. They could give a reason for the relationships in the stories. I want more of Kim. Yeah, the drummer. I thought she was cool, but really underutilized in the movie. I would love for Scott to be punished a little bit more than he is in the movie, because the whole arc is Scott kind of realizing that he's not as great as he thinks he is, and he's actually not a good boyfriend. And he kind of goes through a montage where he's sad, but he's really not punished that much.
Cool. I actually want to revisit the live-action film out of nostalgia now. So, I watched Hamilton on Disney Plus today. For those of you who don't know, this is a stage musical created by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who worked on the songs for Disney's Moana and Mary Poppins Returns. It tells the story of the American founding father, Alexander Hamilton. Now, I'm no expert on American history, but as a piece of theatre, Hamilton is quite extraordinary. While this is technically a movie, nothing has changed to disguise its stage origins. All the charm and the magic of musical theatre is here. There's no fancy effects or lavish sets. Everything has been stripped bare, and a lot is left to the audience's imagination. Even the set changes are made visible because the ensemble dancers take on the role of switching the backgrounds around. It's quite clever. Plus, the stage has a spinning floor mechanism to help create sweeping angle motions. And even the lighting plays a huge part in creating inventive visuals or clever jokes. Like when a character sings about being blue and he stamps his foot, lighting goes blue. Stuff like that. Hamilton is many things. It's a hip-hop musical. It's a comedy opera, performance art, and Broadway theatre. Even though it's blending all these forms of entertainment together, every artistic medium shares the same motive: to tell a story. It's all about the life of Alexander Hamilton, warts and all. It's a very honest and unapologetic character study that examines how far a man will go to create his own legacy. But the play also explores a wide range of important topics, like revolution, feminism, gun politics, and race. The cast of actors are very multi-ethnic. This results in the play making a bold statement about minorities' contribution to musical theatre and America itself. The fact that this film has been released now of all times adds new depth to the context of the play's story, right when the public have been cut off from live theatre and the stage has become less relevant in a zeitgeist where home streaming is the default source of entertainment, right when the world is facing a racial and cultural revolution and raising debates that people argued about at the time of the Founding Fathers. So yeah, the film isn't just entertaining in its own right, its streaming release is culturally valuable right now too. So, first up, there's recently been a new trailer for Pixar's upcoming movie, Soul. It's a film about a middle school music teacher who ends up dying after falling in a sewer and enters the world of the souls. What are your thoughts on this film based on the trailers we've been given so far, Viva?
I'm not excited for it. It doesn't look like Pixar are trying to push any boundaries. It looks like a very safe, corporate-created movie to me.
For me, I think one of the most promising aspects is the setting. Like, the world is quite abstract, and there's some heavy influence from Picasso. And as strange as it sounds, I can see elements of the PlayStation game Viva in there too. Have you played that?
No.
It just reminded me of that. I know it's a weird reference, but yeah. It's not the first time we've seen heaven as like a football business as well. But on a design level, I think it looks quite interesting.
They definitely are testing out a different, like more exaggerated character designs, I think.
What do you think of the music so far? Because even one of the trailers, the newest trailer, features a new song in it. What do you think of the music? Because the music seems like it's going to be like a huge part of the project, with the main character being a jazz pianist.
I thought it was okay. I didn't hear anything that really like was playing over and over in my head, but it seemed like it was. I'm not sure as to the authenticity of the music. It sounds right to a general audience, but I'm not sure how right it would be, given I don't know exactly what the context is. I hope that they did their research on this, because it looks like they're really trying to dig into a minority community. I don't know. It really just seemed, when I saw the trailer, it seemed like they wanted to make Inside Out too.
I'll admit, I think subconsciously that was one of my thoughts when the project was first announced. Even though it's a more spiritual context, yeah. And the fact that Pete Docter, the director of Inside Out, is attached to it as well. Yeah, I know what you mean.
It also kind of reminded me of Princess and the Frog, a mostly black character movie. And then instead of having them be black for most of the movie, he's going to be this non-racial, blue, very safe character. I hope that he doesn't stay blue for the majority of the movie like they made Tiana green for most of Princess and the Frog.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, people are starting to notice a problematic Hollywood animation trope. There's a pattern of animated features that star an ethnic lead character being transformed into something abstract or anthropomorphic for a big chunk of the story. It's troubling and worth evaluating at this point because Soul is building on the trend. Sure, metamorphosis is an element of animation, but many races feel underrepresented in the animation industry, and when this type of movie becomes a consistent pattern, they have every right to be upset. Because it gets to a point where it's no longer a series of coincidences, and more of a sign that Hollywood animation sees this type of film as the default template for a lot of racial representation ideas, and that's worrying. Whether Soul is going to be a good or a bad film, we can't ignore its place within this growing trend.
My main concern is it seems like they are trying to target something very specific with the movie, but they are not willing to take any of those risks to really have a strong message about it. It seems like they want to have their cake and eat it too, and I'm kind of worried about that.
Anyway, so the next news report, and I know this is something Viva's going to be excited about because she's so passionate about hand-drawn animation, but the Cuphead video game is being turned into a Netflix series, and recently we got a sneak peek teaser trailer. And it's not your typical kind of trailer. It's a mix of short clips, interviews with the cast and crew, plus the artists and animators behind the scenes work. It's only 45 seconds long, but it manages to get across quite a lot under that time. Thoughts, Viva?
Yeah, I'm hopeful about the series. I'm really excited that an animated series is coming out that's kind of a different animation style, because a lot of the either Flash or 2D animated series that we get are only a couple styles right now. Netflix releases a lot of Netflix original, like Netflix funded or Netflix purchased content that they put like the Netflix original series on, so it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good. They really hit it out of the park with Castlevania, which is an animated show based off of a video game, so it's something that they know they can make money off of, so hopefully they they take risks with the show, they fund it appropriately, and it's awesome.
You were definitely right about the series being unique on a visual level, because like the heavy Fleischer influences on the art style will inevitably make it stand out. I mean, I can't think of any other animated show right now that looks like it's from the 1930s.
Yeah, all of the animated shows that I can think of right now are either that kind of anime stylized kid animation, or it's like the adult kind of ugly character design.
What I'm wondering about the most, though, because the trailer mainly focused on the aesthetics, is what kind of show it's going to be. Is it going to be episodic? Is it going to have an ongoing narrative arc? Because it's a Netflix show, I definitely think it's going to be the latter, because they want to encourage audiences to marathon it. I don't mind either way.
I think the game, if they're following the plot of the game, then it really lends itself to Monster of the Week kind of
Yes.
structure.
So, yeah, good way of describing it, yeah. I mean, like, in terms of adapting the video game itself, I am curious how faithful they'll be to the structure of the game's levels. But my theory is that each episode will feature a different villain, a bit like how the player has to battle a new boss in each environment in the video game. I'm also curious how action-orientated the show will be. The game is a constant string of boss battles, so will the series be the same? Is it just going to be pure chaos? Or will it be a silly comedy show with a focus on cartoony antics? Again, I'm fine with either, because I'm sold on the aesthetic alone at this point. But again, I'm wondering, what are they
Well,
going
I'm
to go
more
with?
interested in, they need to hit the correct target audience with the show. They cannot just look at that aesthetic and say, or I don't think it would be a good idea to make it for really, really little kids, just because it's bright and it has the exaggerated movement and stuff.
Yeah, it has potential as an adult series, really. Because I know the game is very much about very adult subjects, like Satanism and gambling and stuff like that.
From the story of the game alone, having it be for broad audiences, I think, would be better. So having something that's appealing to older audiences, but not so edgy that it's only for older audiences.
Right, so kind of like The Simpsons level of maturity, maybe.
Maybe like regular show.
So, Viva, have you played the original game?
I've not played it. I've seen playthroughs and I've seen other people play it, but I have not played it myself.
Right, and I've seen reviews of it, and I've seen Let's Plays of it, and that's it. I've never played it, not just because I'm not a very experienced gamer, but also because everyone says it's really hard. So if I'm crap at easy games, I'm going to die after like 2 seconds.
Yeah, I want a game that makes me feel satisfied, not a game that makes me want to cry in the shower.
That's most games for me. I'm so bad. Every time I play video games as a kid, I get frustrated after level 1, pass it over to my brother, he'll do the hard part, then I'll carry on. The original score for Jordan Peele's horror film Get Out was created entirely by Michael Abels, who had never worked on a film before but specialises in traditional concert music, with influences from blues, jazz, and African.
During pre-production for Birds of Prey, the Penguin was originally intended to be the main antagonist of the movie, and he was going to be played by Colin Farrell. But this idea was scrapped once it was decided that Penguin would be the villain of the upcoming Batman movie, starring Robert Pattinson.
According to early drafts of Ghostbusters 2, Walter Peck was going to return with William Atherton reprising the role. However, Atherton did get to reprise Peck in the Ghostbusters video game.
In The Wolf of Wall Street, the kissing scene between Leonardo DiCaprio and Joanna Lumley was so nerve-wracking for DiCaprio that the scene required a reported 27 takes to get it right.
In Big Hero 6, Professor Robert Callahan's character and facial features were modelled after actor Philip Baker Hall.
Corpse Bride composer Danny Elfman originally wrote the part of Bone Jangles, looking for another musician to sing it. But after failing to find a voice that fit, director Tim Burton asked Elfman if he would sing it. The result was so brutal on his vocal cords that Elfman was left hoarse whenever he had to voice the character.
After filming the movie Sophie's Choice together, Meryl Streep and Kevin Kline became close friends in real life. And Streep often drives Kline to recording sessions for his role as Mr. Fisho during Bob's Burgers.
In DreamWorks' Monsters vs. Aliens, the song that President Hathaway plays on the synthesizer is Axel F. by Harold Faltermeyer, which was featured in Beverly Hills Cop, 1984, and Beverly Hills Cop 2, 1987.
It's been announced that Seth Rogen wants to do a CGI reboot movie of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so we're going to be talking about the first 2 episodes of the 2012 CG Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show. The Rise of the Turtles Parts 1 and 2 introduce the Turtle siblings as they leave their sewer home for the first ever time, and venture to the surface, only to witness the kidnapping of April O'Neil and her father by some shady men. We find out that these suits are actually robots being programmed by aliens. And these creatures are holding the very ooze that mutated the brothers. So first of all, Viva, what is your relationship like with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
I've seen the movies, the CG live-action movies. I've seen those, and that's it. So I have not read the comic books. I didn't grow up with the characters. I don't understand the characters.
For me, it's the drastic opposite. Because I grew up in the early 90s, which had like the 80s seep into it, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a big part of my childhood. I watched the cartoon series, and I played with the toys. But then as I got older, I grew distant from it. So I didn't catch up with every single version that came out. But then I had to review the live-action films from the 90s for Puppet Panic at one point. But that's it. That's as far as my turtle journey goes. That is completely it. It's a very strange relationship. Based on these 2 episodes, as a first taste, what do you think of this show?
I think the show is okay. You know, I didn't have really strong feelings, either positive or negative, for the show. I would say the biggest thing that I appreciated about the show was the character designs of the Turtles and Splinter.
Oh, totally.
I appreciated that all the turtles had like different face shapes to go along with their...
Yes, yeah. Or one of them had like gaps in his teeth as well. I liked that.
Yeah, so I like that they made them look a little bit different, and I liked that Splinter looked nice and clean and soft, not like the CG monstrosity that was in the movies that came out. If you were not looking at the beautiful beautifully sculpted faces of the CG turtles, you would not be able to tell which one was talking.
What I really liked about the designs of the turtles themselves was that they had this, like, almost polygon angler look to them, slightly boxy in a way that almost embraces the CGI. But I have a thing for that kind of art style. It's why Porygon is my favorite Pokemon. I like that kind of style. But in terms of the actual show, I know what you mean. I can't exactly find a hook to get behind. There's just nothing really to it. It's just a good CGI adaptation of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles based on the first 2 episodes. The comedy is very basic. Like, I can imagine little kids finding it quite funny, but I barely laughed. I barely laughed at all, but there's nothing there that's, like, groan-worthy. It's just not my kind of comedy.
What are they doing? They're leading him straight toward that power generator! That's incredibly stupid! Or brilliant. Or both!
And it's also... It doesn't take that many risks. There's nothing too dark about it either. So yeah, it's just okay. It's very safe. It's a very safe kind of show.
With the writing, it's very cliche, and I do notice that they sacrifice the story and the characters to put in cliche jokes.
Well, if there's no such thing as alien robots, how do you explain this?
My face!
And that's a little bit unfortunate. But at the same time, the cliches are so strong, you expect exactly what's going to happen. You don't question it because that's just what always happens.
Yeah. I think the only major change that's introduced is having April O'Neil being the Turtles' age. And I've heard that they create a romantic arc out of that. That is slightly foreshadowed in this 2-parter. That's the only thing I know that's, like, drastically different compared to other versions, besides the animation style.
They did a very poor job of setting up the Turtles' relationship with April. And they also did a poor job, I think, of introducing her character.
The episode just kind of throws her into the story, like, bam, here's April, and she's immediately put into the role of hostage. Again, we're only talking about the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
This is what we're saying is not summing up the entire show. Perhaps it gets a bit darker. Perhaps the comedy does improve. But in terms of what we experienced the first 2 episodes, there's nothing really here that makes me go, ooh, I want to keep going. The thing is, the first 2 episodes, they're the origin story of the Turtles, and that is that's how most iterations of this franchise start out. So I've seen this type of story again and again because there's so many versions, and the first 2 episodes don't really do much with it. They're just going through the beats of what they need to do to set up the series. The one thing I will say I kind of like, though, is how it's possibly trying to connect the villain Krang with the mutation serum. And like, yeah, it's trying to expand on Krang's association with that. There is a bit of mystery, and they've not shown Krang yet in these first 2 episodes. I like that they hold that off, and that he's not there yet. They hint that he's associated with the serum, and I kind of like the little mystery there.
Yeah, right middle of the road, 5 out of 10.
Personally, based on just these first 2 episodes, I don't think that this is the version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for me. Perhaps it gets better over time, that's possibly true, but I'm afraid that there wasn't anything here to hook me further, and I don't like to keep watching a show without being given a reason to be invested first. Time for the show to come to a close, as me and Viva have a final showdown in a mega challenge.
Mega Challenge!
In this episode's Mega Challenge, we'll be playing voice recognition. One player will play a voice clip, and the other needs to identify it. If a player guesses the voice actor correctly, they get a silver coin, which is worth $500. If they guess the character right, then they get a gold coin, which is worth $1,000. The player with the most money by the end receives the final Mega Challenge point. Full disclosure, no real money is at stake here, it's all pretend fun.
I'm going to tell you, just straight up, that I'm going to fail this challenge. I'm not going to get a single thing. I am terrible at this. You would think that I would know voice actors, but I don't know a freaking thing. I don't know a gosh darn thing.
Okay, can you play your first clip, please, and I'll make my guess.
Hey! Stop that! Don't! Quit it! Marshall! Well, watch where you're throwing those rocks, will ya?
I really don't know. I can tell it sounds very 90s. Like, the music and the sound, yeah. But yeah, I haven't got a clue on either. I can't tell which show it is, I can't tell which voice actor it is, and I can't tell what character it is. I'm already failing, so pass.
Well, watch where you're throwing those rocks, will ya?
So, here's my first clip.
When the cat's away, the mice will play. The holiday starts now, everyone.
Okay. Let's see. I mean, the chances that I'm gonna get the voice actor I have no frickin' idea. Is this, is it that Miyazaki guy, that cat guy?
It's not the Cat Baron now.
When the cat's away, the mice will play.
What is your second clip?
Breathing gently, stepping lightly, smile brightly, nod politely. Never show a thing you feel inside.
I'm getting Disney straight-to-video vibes from this.
Yeah. I might have made it a little bit too hard. I might have overestimated how good you were.
I overestimate how good I am every day.
Great message to put out there to your followers.
Right, no, pass. I haven't got a clue.
Now, didn't we watch this movie together?
Oh, no.
I think we did.
No, don't say that!
This is...
What is it?
Breathing gently, stepping lightly, smile brightly, nod politely. Never show a thing you feel inside.
Yes, we did watch that film together. For a drinking game. I wouldn't have been sober for that, Viva. No wonder I forgot. Anyway, here is my next clip.
All I can remember is the sky going dark and people shouting and running. Then, bright light, like a star.
This isn't... Okay, we didn't watch this one together, did we?
No.
Oh.
Got it?
Oh. I know.
What is it?
I know.
Say it.
It is Atlantis. It's Kita from Atlantis, isn't it?
Voice actress?
I have no idea who it is, but I could guess. I don't know, is it like Zoe Saldana or something?
All I can remember is the sky going dark and people shouting and running.
Okay, here's your third clip.
What makes you think it's in order? Tell me. Do you really believe that I think of you as a tool?
I can tell it's from an anime, but I don't know which.
It is from an anime. And this one I thought... This one was like... I think that this one is a little bit unfair.
They're all unfair! Pass.
Do you really believe that I think of you as a tool? If that's the case... then I never would have taken you in.
Okay, and here is my third and final clip for you.
I guess you know best. But I'm gonna miss you, baby. And those kids. Gee, I'm gonna miss them too.
It sounds like weird kind of old-timey. And the only animated thing that I can think of that would have that and possibly those lines in it is that cat from Five L Goes West. Is that completely off?
I guess you know best. But I'm gonna miss you, baby.
I have 1 point. This is like the 6th episode. I have just one. I've only won one mega challenge. It's just like my failure is on display.
Maybe I'm making these a little bit too hard.
I've been Jambareeqi, and I hope you've enjoyed this podcast.
I've been Viva Becker.
Yeah, there was a little bit of hesitance there. Have you got who you are? Have we been recording that long?
I'm Viva Becker. Hope you enjoyed the podcast.